What's up, guys? Welcome to the Holy Happy Hour. I am your host, Josh, and first of all, I would like to invite you to like and subscribe to support the channel and everything we're doing. You guys can also check out our sponsors, Sacrilegious. Thank you for sponsoring every episode that we do. We're super grateful to be involved with a company like this. If you don't know what Sacrilegious is, check them out in the description below. But basically, it's a company that started with just Saint socks and has blown up to so much more, basically creating good, faithful Catholic apparel that you can wear to hopefully start some very fruitful conversations. So today we are going to be getting into a little bit more of a short form video, and it's kind of evolved out of things I've been going over with my Bible study, as well as just kind of things that have come up in my own prayer life. And I think that lately I've been really focused on how to take someone that's brand new to the faith and walk them through the faith. And as I was praying about this, and it's like, where do you start? Like, where would you start? And it got to me that probably where you'd want to start is with this character Jesus. And in the Bible, Jesus is this great figure, but throughout history, we've had plenty of people have different opinions on who he was. Obviously, as Catholics, we believe that Jesus is God. Jesus is one and the same. It says in Scripture, the Father and I are one. Others think that he is sent by God as like a messenger, as a prophet, as just a great person, maybe that was just a very, very good leader. But yeah, so there's just a few options, though, that actually come to mind. And when walking people through this, it's so great to kind of step back and look from an overall kind of bigger picture. And so I started looking into one of our studies we have that we've walked through a couple times, and I've been walking through with some people. And it's this idea that Jesus actually claims to be God in the scriptures. And there's there's actually a ton of places that you can kind of look to. But two main ones I want to first start with is the fact that he actually says, before Abraham was, I am. And the Hebrew for that is Yahweh. A lot of people, that term, but the Hebrew Yahweh, I am. And it's how God, the name he identifies himself as to Moses. And so if Jesus is now coming and saying, before Abraham was, I am, and he's claiming that name for himself, he is claiming to be that person and be that person he was. Another place we see it is in the actions that he does. So in some of these actions that he has or claims to have, as some of the people that approach him, are powers that God alone has. In the Old Testament, we see that God is the only one with power over the wind and the seas. But then we see Jesus in the boat, and the disciples are freaking out, and he calms the winds and the sea and has this power over them, has this authority over them, this power of healing. And I know that it'd be really easy to say, yeah, God was doing that. Like, God's done miraculous things through other people. I mean, Moses split the Red Sea. Was Moses also God? It's like, no, Moses wasn't God. God was definitely working through Moses, and God would actually tell him to do certain things. And yes, and miraculous things happen through someone. But we want to look at how people are responding, and the kind of the day of that time, to actually see and think to ourselves, like, what did the people of that time believe that he was saying? And so I love this one in Mark. So like I said, we just talked about when he does calm the seas. They say in Mark 4:41, who then is this that even the wind and the sea obey him? Another one when Jesus actually claims to be able to forgive sins, and he says, I forgive you for what you did to me. So it's Matthew, it's chapter 9, it's in verses 2-7, but he says, I forgive you for what you have done to me. But in this, when he's saying your sins are forgiven, the Jewish leaders were kind of flabbergasted by this, of like, you can't say that. Like, only God can forgive sins. So they actually accused him of blasphemy in Matthew chapter 9. So what he was saying was definitely something that the people of that time truly thought, like, you are putting yourselves above people. You are putting yourselves on the same plane with God. So you are claiming to be God or a God or whatever they were thinking, but they knew, like, he was putting himself on this unspeakable level that no one was allowed to. People picked up stones to stone him, and it was crazy. And so, like I said, in John 10, I and the Father are one. Before Abraham was, I am. In John 8, it's just so crazy to see that anytime he said these very bold statements, he knew what the reaction would be, and that they were ready to stone him to death for blasphemy. John chapter 8, verse 59. So they're ready to take his life from him. They're ready to take his life from him. But let's play devil's advocate for a second. So let's say that that's not enough for me. I still don't believe Jesus is Lord. But what is going on here and the types of things that would have happened and how they're reacting, I would say, actually C.S. Lewis would say, that there's this kind of this trilemma that comes about. And if you haven't heard about the trilemma, it's a great read, but it basically starts with the two options. Jesus is Lord, he is God, or he's not. Like, it's just a true or false statement. Jesus Christ is God. That's either true or false. But then if it's not, if it's false, if you believe it's false, there's only two other options that you can maybe try to use to explain what happened here then. The first one would be that he just flat out was a liar. So he was saying these things before Abraham was, I am. And he was saying these things, the Father and I are one, but he was just flat out lying. Now, this one doesn't hold a lot of weight for me, I don't think. Obviously, there's all the miracles he actually did and the eyewitness testimonies that were like, what on earth just happened? There were things that he was able to do. He was able to heal people. And even if you were to say like he was lying and it was God working through him, doing miracles through him, but he was saying all these things, wouldn't he be doing something like they said, blasphemy? Like, I should not be on the internet claiming to be God and saying, pray to me and I will heal you. Like, that would be blasphemy. And so if Jesus was speaking like this, I don't think God would have been very happy and he wouldn't have cooperated with him. So this idea that he would have been a liar just starts to unravel a little bit. But then where I think it super unravels is, think about how massive his ministry. I mean, literally still thriving and growing to this day. But even just in the short period of time, he had 12 guys that were living with him and walking with him and were with him at all times. Besides those times he would go off to pray. So if he was a liar, wouldn't he have slipped up at some point? Don't you think he would have maybe told the apostles, are my favorite, like maybe the apostles were in on it. Maybe the apostles were in on it too. But if the apostles were in on it, or if Jesus never slipped up, then that's godlike in itself, because we're all, if he was just human, we're all imperfect and we would have slipped up at some point, or we would have been just stressed and everything. But think about like what they were to gain. What did all the apostles gain from following him? They literally all but one was martyred. So there was no gain. It's not like they were like Jesus rose to power and became this very wealthy king that was just taking over lands and taking over the next area of the world and becoming this king of the world. I mean, he tells us these, my kingdom is not of this world. He was truly, truly the opposite of all of that. He was a poor man. He did not have any belongings. He went from town to town just preaching and teaching people, healing people, performing very godly acts. And the apostles were right there along with him. Now, if the apostles knew that he was a liar and just kind of went along with it for some reason, they themselves would be crazy people. But why, after he's crucified, dies in those 3 days, why would then they actually still stick to the plan and not think to themselves, I'm getting the heck out of here. Like, I'm done. I don't know about you guys. They freaking killed him. Like, I'm done with this. And I feel like there's movies like that. There's movies that are literally like something happens and somebody dies and they're like, dude, guys, this was all fun and games, but now that there's someone dead, I'm out. Like, I am out of here. And so the liar, that idea just kind of unravels extremely fast. You guys can definitely comment if you guys think that maybe there's more to that. Like, maybe there's something else you have. I guess you'd have to be an atheist to think that, though, that Jesus was a liar. He wasn't actually God. But some of you guys that are Protestant, maybe you have some ideas of like, maybe he wasn't God, but he was part of the Holy Trinity are three separate entities and they're not actually three in one. Yeah, comment below. I'd love to hear about it and maybe come up with some response for it. in a respectful way. I always want to do it in a respectful way. Uh, yeah. So the next one was Lunatic. So Lunatic was interesting because why would people follow him if he was just a crazy person? Haven't we all seen that person that's probably just all tweaked out on the street and they're like yelling at the middle of an intersection? If that person just started yelling, I'm God, or I honestly think of the Mahdi that was like thriving on social media for like whatever it was, 1 month. And truly that kind of is what that's what I picture when we start talking about the lunatic side. It's just someone that gets up and says like, I am the real Pope. I am like bringing all these things together. The second coming is here and I'm here to save you all. Like, that person's crazy. And I bet half those people in the room are like, I've got to hear this. This is crazy. But Peter Kreeft has a great quote. Peter Kreeft says, here is what they got out of their hoax. So if he was a lunatic and they were like, we better just kind of, I don't know, go along with it, this hoax, but here's what they got out of what they did. Their friends and family scorned them. Their social standing, possessions, and political privileges were stolen from them by both Jews and Romans. They were persecuted, imprisoned, whipped, tortured, exiled, crucified, eaten by lions, and cut to pieces by gladiators. Yeah, I am not following a lunatic just to receive that as a reward. I don't know about you guys. Again, now, I guess I said that the liar one holds the least amount of water in the argument, but maybe that one's it. So if it's not lunatic and if it's not liar, then it would have to be Lord, right? Now, there is one kind of bonus L. It says finally there is one more claim about Jesus that has come to like fruition in the last few years, and that's that this idea that he was a legend, like he was actually made up, or maybe the person himself what was true. And we know there's so much proof for the person Jesus, but maybe the stories and the miracles and everything were actually kind of like these like stories made up and legends like told from town to town and that blew up over time. I just think to myself that there is no way that would spread so wide and so far and so many people would take it so seriously. Especially like, I mean, in today's age, people would have disproved it really fast with like the technology we have and all that kind of stuff. Like things wouldn't have made sense. But as much as like technology keeps advancing, we keep proving more. I mean, I came across an article that said NASA proves that the was a blood moon on the day and the time of the crucifixion. And that's just like they're starting to see stuff like that. Like it's like stuff's lining up. You have the Shroud of Turin that they're able to do thousands and thousands of hours of research on this cloth that is supposed to be the burial cloth of Jesus, and these people just do not believe it, and they're doing tests and tests and tests on it, and everything they do, they're basically like, we cannot replicate this. The only thing we could think of is that it would have had to have been some kind of miraculous thing, aka Jesus coming back from the dead. It's like some wild, I don't know, these numbers are probably way off, but it's like 1.376 trillion watts of light and like 0.00004 tenths of a second or whatever. Like some of the craziest things. And if any of those numbers are even a little off, either the image doesn't show up or just completely chars the entire cloth. So as technology advances, that the idea of him being a legend, just kind of falls through the cracks. It doesn't work. And so I want to pose a question for you. And maybe you don't have an answer. You can leave in the comments that you're going to pray about it more and come back with something. But I would love to hear from you guys. Like, what else could it be? So Jesus is God. If you believe the Bible is true, then Jesus claiming to be God. I think this is a big place to start. Like I said at the beginning, I'm wondering like where to start when like walking with someone through the faith. Is that you need to first know and understand that Jesus is claiming to be God. He says it. He does things that only God has the power to do, and everyone has always been very well aware of that. No one brings up any of the past miracles that other like followers that had this great relationship with God or like a covenant with God, no one mentions those people and the things that happen there. He comes in and starts doing things that people are so blown away that it is crazy. I feel like if you believe the Bible is true, then you have to agree that Jesus is God. Jesus is God. And this doesn't even get into the Catholic versus Protestant. I think that as Catholic or Protestants, just as Christians in general, we should all at this starting point, this is kind of like the common ground. Like if we were gonna to walk through the faith, just the Christian faith, that this would be the starting ground. That we need to first establish that Jesus does claim to be God. He is God. And I think that the next question I want to pose to you, that if you are sitting there and like, wow, that was actually a lot of good information, and yeah, I've never thought about it, but yeah, Jesus is God. It's like, what does that mean for your life? What does that mean for you? How does your life right now, in what ways do you actually live like that? Do you live like Jesus is God? I know for me, it's. I mean, I work at the church, and I love going to mass. Like mass is like one of my favorite things, and that's where I feel like I'm making time to do that every single day. That every time I go, I feel like I'm making Jesus the center of my life. But maybe there's other places. Actually, for sure, there's other places because we're human and we sin. But maybe there's other places in your life that you're like, Jesus is not the center of this part of my life. When I go out on the weekends with my friends and drink and get drunk, or when me and my girlfriend are having sex before marriage, or and I'm saying all these things that have definitely done before too, so I'm not judging anyone. But when we're doing these things, we're in sin, whether it's drugs or abuse or anger or lust or whatever it is. Like Jesus obviously is not the center of your life at that point, but that's the perfect place and the place he wants to be the center of your life. So what does it look like? What does it look like to live with Jesus as the center of your life 24/7, from the time you wake up till you go to bed? And you know, the saints always talk about praying unceasingly, and never kind of stopping this conversation, this relationship with God throughout the day. And to me, that has started to click a little bit. I'm not perfect for sure, but there are things that are starting to really click in that department, and I'm really starting to feel a little bit of what God was telling these people when he said to pray unceasingly, and what Jesus wants for us. Like he wants this relationship where we are constantly with him. He wants a spiritual version of being an apostle. Like the apostles were with him, like I said, 24/7, walking with him, eating with him, doing life with him, praying with him, worshiping with him. And that's what he wants with us today. It's just this spiritual way. I like to just imagine like we have this Ignatian meditative style prayer in the Catholic faith, and I love it. And a lot of you Protestants probably do something very similar, but I love this thought of like, start walking through your day and picture Jesus being right there. Some parts are gonna be really cool, like it's just gonna be like, oh man, when this was happening, this great thing was happening at work, man, Jesus, you were there and you were cheering for me too. Like that's so cool to think about. And then there's gonna be other parts that hurt really bad, where you're like, oh man, yeah, when I was engaging with pornography, or when I was like smoking that joint or whatever. Have never done drugs, so I don't know what they're called. But Jesus was there when I was yelling at my kids. Jesus was there. It starts to hurt a little bit. I promise that's not the point, but is to know that there's still a comfort there though too. That Jesus isn't rolling his eyes and turning around and just walking out like I'm getting out of here, but he's there with you. That's what I picture the whole scourging at the pillar. Like he's sitting there, and every time he's whipped and every time he's hit, those are times that we are sinning. Like that, I just think of like every time I sin, I'm basically just whipping him again. But he's willing to sit there and take it. Every second on the cross, every sin I have, it's another second that was on that cross. And like I said, it's not to end this thing on a downer, but it's to actually truly invite you to look into that. Like look into, what does that mean? If Jesus is God, if this made sense and this clicked, if Jesus is God, what does that mean? What does that mean for your life? And there's other things that are definitely in this that I would love to. If you ever guys ever want this, it's a whole study. I'm obviously paraphrasing most of it. I'd be more than happy to send it over to you. Our email's in our bio, so you guys can find that. But it's just the Holy Happy Hour at Gmail. But yeah, but what would our lives look like, and how can we tomorrow just start to try and live a little bit better? So I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Just making sure I didn't miss anything. I have had a blast filming this. Actually, this is like a little bit of a different episode because it's just another solo episode. You know, back in the day, I used to do the interviews on Thursdays and my solo episodes on Tuesdays. And I kind of want to get back to that because I love these episodes where I get to just kind of share my heart and what's on my mind lately. And in the past, we've had some pretty good ones, but I feel like now really like God really is putting stuff on my heart to share with the people I'm walking with as a missionary, or to share with people in Bible study. And I think this YouTube channel is the perfect mix with all that stuff. And so the 60 people that watch this, or the 6,000 people that watch this, I'm like, I'm so glad you're here. And I hope you guys got something out of this, and know that making these videos are super fruitful for me. And so I hope that you guys join along and hit that like button, comment along as well. I'd love to hear from you. We are still doing the shirt giveaway, so comment and you guys get entered into win a free Holy Happy Hour shirt. And we got some awesome apparel ideas coming out too. So make sure you enter that in, because we're going to be giving out a free shirt every single month. And we're super excited about that. So you guys have a great rest of your day. This will be coming out in the morning. That's why I don't have any cocktail or anything. This will be coming out in the morning time. And so I hope you guys have a blessed rest of your day. I'll be praying for you guys today, especially if you subscribe. If you subscribe, my rosary, I always mention all the subscribers and the viewers on this channel. So subscribe, and that rosary will also be for you as well. So I'd love to pray for you guys, and hopefully you guys come back, and we're going to continue into the next chapter of this study. It's the Kerygma message of proclaiming Jesus as the center of your life, the Lord of your life. And so continue to come with us, and have a great day, and we will talk to you soon.